Today I'm going to talk about how to shift from negative emotions to a neutral standpoint and from there on out to positive emotions. So let's get started. In order for us to shift from negative to positive emotions, we must first understand why do we have negative emotions. So in this experience of being a human being, you are confronted with all sorts of emotions, ranging from anger, fear, anxiety to joy, happiness, peace, and so on and so forth. It's a really complex interplay of all kinds of different emotions. So how come that some people are stuck with negative emotions while others aren't? And to understand that, I have illustrated a little something for you, which I call just the hierarchy of how emotions are really created. And you see here, down there at the beliefs, this is actually the baseline. Base, I just call it base. Not the bass, but bass. Drum and bass. So, as you can see here, emotions is not the first thing that is created. So, in order for an emotion to be created, you first have to have a belief. And from that emotion out, you create different thoughts and then you create your behavior. So what does that tell me? How could I use this hierarchy to actually, get out of negative emotions? And I'm going to give you an example. I'm just going to use myself as an example, but maybe you can relate. So before I started working on myself, I was really anxious in relationships, like dead anxious. If I had a romantic interest in someone, I would just toss out my whole personality and just latch onto them like I don't know how they call it, that suck your blood. Anyways, I had a huge problem with texting, like huge. I would feel ignored very, very, very quick, even though the other person had no intention of ignoring me. But I will use that as an example. I would look at my phone after a couple hours and I would see, okay, that person has not texted me back. And I would start to feel nervous and anxious about it. My behavior would be, oh my God, they are ignoring me. So behavior would be anxious, my thoughts would be, they are ignoring me. The emotion would be sadness. And the belief that I have was I'm being abandoned. Beliefs are at the foundation. It's not just a thought, okay, hey, I will be abandoned, but you really made that belief your own. You live it every day in every single situation. And you can't just think, okay, I'm not being abandoned, like another thought, because it's deeper than that. Beliefs are deeply rooted in your psyche, in your subconscious. So what I would do, I would say, okay, hey, I think I'm not being abandoned, they're just busy. I would write it down. They're busy. And of course, I know that people get busy, and I know no one has to text you back within like a certain range of hours. I know that. I knew all those things. And even though I was thinking, okay, they're busy, they're not ignoring me, I would still feel extremely anxious. And I would still feel sad. And I would tell myself, hey, Sophia, you don't have to be sad. There's nothing to be sad about. And even if they would be ignoring, your self-worth is not attached to someone else. All that was not helping. I would still feel anxious. Even though I would tell myself those things that they're busy and everything and so on and so forth. I would try to make sense of it with my head, but whatever I was doing, it was not helping. So I couldn't get out of that negative state. And the reason for that is the belief. I will be abandoned. I will be abandoned. And the underlying belief under this one is, I'm not good enough. Or I'm not lovable, people don't like me, and so on and so forth. So in order to change the emotion from sad to at least neutral, so that I look at my phone and think, okay, I'm not thinking anything really. I don't have to be happy that they didn't text me, but at least I'm feeling alright, you know. In order to change the emotion, you gotta change the belief first, because this is the root. If you don't change the belief, no matter what you're trying to change here, whether you change your behavior, your thought, you cannot change the emotion if at the baseline you have, I will be abandoned or I'm not good enough. It simply cannot work, because that baseline, the belief in your subconscious, it is much, much, much stronger than anything you could possibly think about. Because thoughts are fleeting. You have one thought in one moment and another thought in the next moment. But beliefs, they are stationary, if you will. They are within you until you change them. So the question now is, how do I change them? In order to change the belief, and with changing the belief to change your emotions, you can use this hierarchy to work yourself from up to down. What I mean by that is, for example, if you observe a behavior of you, let's say, I'm gonna give you another example. You are standing in the front of a classroom and you have to give a presentation. And you're feeling anxious as hell. Why are you feeling anxious? Because you think, oh my God, giving a presentation in front of people, that is scary. That is really scary, and I feel not good about it. You're telling yourself in your head, this is scary, I don't want to do it, I shouldn't be here. If I give a presentation, people will laugh at me, and so on and so forth. So the feeling that you could call is fear. Just for information, I'm saying feeling here, and I know there's a distinction between feelings and emotions, but since we use those two words, emotions and feelings, very interchangeably in our day-to-day language, I'm just not paying like significant attention to how I use that word. But what I really meant was the emotion would be fear. And the belief could be, again here, I'm not good enough. I'm not God enough. Good enough. I love being I'm not good enough, since I've been struggling with I'm not good enough for my entire life. So it's really just, you can use it in every situation almost. Anyways, what I was trying to say is, if you observe yourself in day-to-day situations, you can ask yourself, hey, what's my behavior? Okay, I'm giving a presentation. I'm feeling anxious. Why do I feeling anxious? Because I think in my head, giving presentations is a bad thing. That presentations are scary, people will laugh at me, and so on and so forth. That is a thought. Underlying the thought is the emotion fear. Hey, I'm scared to do this. I'm actually scared to give a presentation. The question now would be, what do I need to believe to be true in that situation in order for me to feel that way right now? That is the real question here. What do I believe to be true in myself in that situation that I feel this certain way? And the answer is, if I'm scared to do a presentation, if I'm scared that people will laugh at me, I somewhere must have a belief that ranges from I'm not good enough to I can't do this, and so on and so forth. So you gotta identify the belief. And you can use this in any situation. You can work your way up from here. From behaviors to thoughts to emotions to beliefs. So if you don't know where to start, you can just really observe yourself in day-to-day situations. How do I feel in what situation? Where do those negative emotions show up in my life, in my day-to-day life? That way you can start identifying the beliefs. Pop, pop, pop. Remove this really quick. So let's say you use the hierarchy to identify the belief. Again, here I just use "I'm not good enough" since that's the one I'm most familiar with, unfortunately. I'm not good enough. So you use the hierarchy, you identify the belief, I'm not good enough. Now how do I change it? Change. You could just say, hey, it's not true. But sometimes it's not as simple as that. What really helped me was to identify, hey, why do I even have this belief? Why do I think I'm not good enough? It is because of my experiences in my life so far. Reasons can be reasons for belief, I call it. The way that your parents treated you. Your parents maybe never gave you any credit for the things you were doing. Maybe they were just not emotionally present because they had too much going on with themselves. All those behaviors from your parents, they made you believe I'm not good enough. And also the thing is, if your parents believe about themselves that they're not good enough, not that they're consciously saying it, but by the way that they're acting, how they present themselves, and really just their own energetic field. If they have in their energetic field, I'm not good enough, and that's how they go through life, because you're their child, and all you knew as a kid were your parents, you adapt to that belief. So you literally make it your own, because it's like you get it inherited, you know, until you don't, because you're changing it right now here in this video. Another thing is school. School is a big one. Because from the age of 6, we are actually in school. Meaning, you have to more or less, you have to compare yourself to others, because what grade does my neighbor have? How are they performing? Your parents maybe compare yourself to your siblings or to other kids in your class, and maybe you're not performing well in certain subjects like math or biology, whatever. So you get told, hey, you need to do better. Your grade is not good enough. Your grade is not good enough to actually pass this class. So maybe you have to do a rerun and actually be in the same class one more year to be good enough. And imagine this, you are in school for 10 plus years. Almost every single human here, at least here in the Western world, they have been in school for 10 plus years. Which means you have 10 years of people telling you, hey, you need to do better, you need to have better grades, and you're constantly comparing your worth to the performance you bring in school. Just think about this, because that's a big one. And also friends, one dot. Friends. Maybe your friends sometimes make mean comments about you, or maybe you don't even have friends at all. If you haven't watched my last video, I talked about this in my last video, how a belief, if you carry it from very early on, is actually stretching throughout your whole life. That means at some point in your life, you started to believe other people and what they were saying about you or how they were treating you. And you were like, hey, if they treat me bad, it must be because I'm not good enough. So you got this belief from the outside. And in a sense, you're still believing what they said, back then. You're still believing that you deserved on some level how they treated you, but you don't. You don't deserve to be treated bad, and you're definitely good enough because you exist. You actually wouldn't exist if creation didn't think you were good enough to be alive. And just think about it. Without you, creation, all that is, the infinite, would be incomplete. So you are actually a perfectly fitting puzzle piece that needs to exist, that needs to be here, and that needs to be you in order for the infinite to be complete. And I know it's not easy to change beliefs, especially because they're so deeply rooted in your subconscious, but becoming aware of them is really the first step. Because now that you've become aware that this belief is actually from other people, that they from things that they've told you, and now it has become a choice because you are now aware of it. You are now aware, okay, hey, whatever I believe about myself is not directly from me. So it's now in your hands to say, hey, that's not true. I decide to believe something different. Because every belief is a choice. Once you have become aware of the belief, of course. If you're not aware of it, you can't change it. So you first must become aware. It's in your hands to say, hey, it's not true. And whenever this belief shows up in your life and you notice yourself maybe treating yourself bad and you notice yourself playing small again, every time you notice, you say, hey, stop. This belief that I'm not good enough is actually not stemming from myself. It was just reflections that were reflecting back to me that I was thinking in my subconscious that I'm not good enough. So now that you have become aware, every time it shows up in your day-to-day life, you can say, hey, stop. I'm me, I'm good enough. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm a human being. Human beings are not perfect. We're always evolving, always changing, but we're always good enough as we are, no matter what stage you're in. And I once heard this comparison. If you buy a video game and you're on level 1, you just don't hate the game because you're on level 1. I mean, of course you will get to level 2 and then 10 and then 20, but you still enjoy playing the game. And life is really the same. Maybe in some areas of your life you're still on level 1, but you can still evolve. That doesn't mean that you're less worth because you're on level 1 than instead of level 10. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you understand what I meant. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to comment below. And yeah, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!